What is up everybody, Airbase here. In today's video I want to discuss my thoughts on Battlefield 1 online. I've put over 30 hours into Battlefield 1 so far to see what is balanced, unbalanced, good or bad within all classes, tanks, and planes. This is all my opinion on what I've experienced or seen while on the battlefield. But first I want to take a little time to talk about Operations. It's the new game mode that was introduced to the Battlefield 1 series. Operations to me is very unbalanced. It is heavily one-sided to benefit the defenders. I've only experienced a few wins as an attacker. You're only able to get through one map and maybe half the next map at most times. But it has some of the most intense gameplay I've ever experienced. The only problem is there's not enough reinforcements. Usually if you win the first map, you've expunged 1-2 battalions before you get to the next map. They should give you another battalion for winning that one map to help you out in the next map. Now next, I want to talk about the infantry classes. Let's get into that right now.
Losing objective.
The first kit I'm going to discuss in the infantry lineup is the assault class. Now the assault class has one of the strongest guns in its arsenal right now, and that is the Hell Regal. The other guns are relatively balanced from what I've experienced or seen while playing Battlefield 1 so far. And the reason why the Hell Regal is such a good gun is its 60 round magazine, this high fire rate it has, the high damage, and its great hip firing capabilities. There's only one downfall to this gun, and it has a long reload time, and that is why it's so popular right now. Gadget wise, I feel the anti-tank gadgets are way underpowered. Usually you have to expunge both anti-tank grenades, all your AT rockets, or dynamite to get a tank kill, and you're not even guaranteed to get the tank kill due to the emergency repair that certain tanks have. Now maybe all they have to do to make it better is allow dynamite to stick to tanks like on Battlefield 4, or give us more gadgets so we can take on one tank alone and be able to destroy it. Other than that, the assault class is averagely balanced. It just needs some tweaks and buffs primarily to the gadgets to make it much better. Other than that, the assault is right where it should be. It's not powerful, it's not overpowered, it's not underpowered other than the gadgets. Now let's talk about the medic class. The next kit in the infantry lineup is the medic class, and I feel this class is way overpowered. It has some of the strongest weapons on Battlefield 1 right now. The 2 to 3 shots close quarters, maybe 4 to 5 longer if you control fire, and that has no problems for these DMRs. There's really not many negatives to this class, other than maybe the bullet deviation and the revive system. Healing seems decently balanced from what I've experienced, but the revive system with the hold the A button you can respawn faster really negates medic classes to a minimum. But overall, from what I've seen, medic class is the strongest one on the field. Overall, this class is well overpowered in the right hands. You can easily outshoot snipers from 150 to 200 meters, no problem, with 3 to 4 rounds. And that is why this class is probably the most picked on Battlefield 1 from what I've seen. Next, I want to talk about the support class. The third kit in the infantry lineup is the support class, probably one of my favorite classes in the game. The BAR is probably the best gun on support in my opinion, but the weapons do seem underpowered. They have several MGs for different playstyles, such as the supportive or aggressive role. The supportive role is more of you're sitting off the objective with your LMG and bipod up, trying to cover your team to allow them to take the flag or the objective. Now the aggressive role is you're right there in the chaos trying to take that flag, and you're just in constant fire at all times. But the resupply is relatively quick, the mortar is very strong, almost overpowered. There are only a few negatives to this class, like the mortar and the grenade spam, due to the fast resupply times that they have right now. Overall, I feel that this class needs some buffs to make it better. I'm not sure what they can do to help it, but this class needs some love. Next, I want to talk about the scout class. Final kit in the infantry lineup is the scout class. Very fun to use and very satisfying when you snipe people from a distance. They have very strong bolt action rifles, not overpowered due to the skill required on understanding where the sweet spots are, roughly around 80 to 150 meters depending on the rifle you're using. But there are several negatives. The K bullets are very weak against vehicles. The highest I've ever gotten was maybe 6 damage to even a tank or an airplane, and it's hard to determine the distance to your target. There also needs to be something else to make it more supportive for your team. Overall, the Scout is well balanced class with its strong rifles, great covering fire you can give from a distance, but it just needs that extra element to help you aid your team when the firefight is on, other than the spotting flare that you get. Other than that, I'm going to talk about vehicles, which is next. Before we get into this one, I'm not going to talk about the artillery truck. I felt it's in a great spot, very well balanced. I saw nothing wrong nor overly good about this vehicle, but that is just my opinion. So the first vehicle I'm going to discuss in the vehicle lineup is the land ship. Now the land ship is not used very much because it requires at least 3 people to be most effective. It has a very slow turning radius, but other than that, it is relatively mobile. It has 2 strong cannons on each side. It can supply great support for your team and when you're capturing a flag or objective. But the armor is average, it can be easily taken out. Now overall, the land ship is my favorite for the team effort it requires to do well. Some of the only negatives are that if an assault takes out the tracks or the side cannon, it will render it almost useless because you cannot fight back because you cannot turn to shoot the enemy. But other than that, this land ship is very well balanced. I saw nothing too strong about it, nothing too weak about it. I hope that you guys get a chance to experience this tank. Now let's talk about the heavy tank. Now the next tank I'm going to talk about is the heavy tank. Now the reason why the heavy tank is by far the favorite to the Battlefield 1 community as of right now is because it has very little drawbacks. Now here's why it's highly picked from what I have seen. It only requires 1 person to be deadly, has a very strong cannon, can be great support for the team to capture objectives or points. The armor is very tough. The emergency repair is almost too strong in a sense. I've had many situations where I was 40% health left and I did the emergency repair and it took me up to 80%. And it also can ricochet shots. If you angle your tank just right, you can actually ricochet the AT rockets or anti-tank grenades very easily. The only drawback is that it's very slow and sluggish. It has a very slow turning radius, but this tank has very little drawbacks. One man can devastate a battlefield if they know what they are doing. A lot of people, although, misuse this tank, in particular because of its overpowered nature right now. People would rather camp at the edge of a map sniping with a cannon rather than going into the objective to help the team fight the objectives or the point. Next, I want to talk about a little bit about the light tank and why I feel it is weak almost to the point of being useless. Next, we got the little guy of the tank group, the light tank. Now this is a weak tank overall, but this tank can be great in the right hands, especially against infantry. It is probably the lowest picked tank on Battlefield 1, I feel, which is understandable. Although it is fast and mobile and has a decent cannon, its armor is very weak. It's more of an ambush tank slash flanker tank because with its fast and mobility, you can get in behind objectives or tanks and shoot them and get out before the tank realizes where you are and come from a different angle and shoot at them again. Overall, this tank is weak. It's not too strong. It can be easily taken out by one assault class. It needs some buzz to help it compete to the other 2 tanks, I feel. Now next I want to discuss the airplanes, the bomber, the attack plane, and the fire plane. Let's get into that right now. The plane we're going to talk about in our lineup is the Flying Fortress, the bomber. Now the bomber does great damage to vehicles. It is very strong, but it is very slow and not very mobile. It requires a lot of room to turn, and it almost needs 2 gunners for that extra protection against the attack plane and the fighter planes that are going to be coming to your backside. It has decent health. Now the bomber is absolutely amazing due to its high damage. You don't need 2 people, but the more protection you have, the better off you will be. It takes also a little bit to learn how the bombs fall for that more precise shot. Now let's talk about the attack plane. The attack plane is probably one of the more used planes on Battlefield 1 right now, and I can understand why. It's probably one of my favorite planes also, and here's why it's so good. It has good health, it has medium speed and mobility, it's decent damaging weapons and bombs, it has the ability to have 1 gunner, plus it's good for air to ground and air to air combat. Overall, I like this plane's great bombing capabilities for the infantry. It's best to have that 1 gunner due to its medium speed and mobility. You need that gunner for extra protection from your backside. I also feel that the attack plane is well balanced. The guns aren't too strong, nor are they too weak. They're in a good spot right now. You can take out planes, no problem when you come on their backside. Next, we have the fighter plane, the little guy of the group. Finally, we have the little guy of the planes, and that is the fire plane. With 1 negative from what I have seen or experienced, overall this is an amazing plane, and here's why. The health is average, it's very fast and mobile, the weapons are decent damage. The rocket pods seem very weak to me though, that is the only negative I have seen. The fire plane is amazing in the right hands. I just feel that the rocket pods need some buzz to help take out tanks. I hit a tank with all my rocket pods and did a whole 7 or 8 damage. I feel that it should do a lot more than that. Overall, the planes are in a decent place to me. Well balanced, just need a few tweaks in here to help them make them better, especially the rocket pods. Next, I want to talk just a little bit about the Behemoth. The Behemoth is something new to the battlefield as well. When a team is losing by certain points, they will be reinforced by either a Zeppelin, train, or Dreadnought. Overall, the Behemoth has very high health, it does a lot of damage, it's slow and not very mobile. It can turn the tide of a war. The Behemoth is very well balanced. With a good team, you can easily take it out no problem. The weapons are not too strong. I've been enjoying the Behemoth a lot in this game. It brings a new element to the table. If you're losing on Conquest, you have a chance with the Behemoth to make a comeback and get a victory. Now, lastly, I want to talk about my final thoughts on this game. To me, I feel what could make this game much better would be put a timer on the vehicles so you don't have people staying in vehicles and then the whole match, to allow other people to get a chance to use them. Or once you die, you can't spawn in a vehicle for several minutes. Maybe taking away the repairing completely away so you can't run off and repair your vehicle. So far, all I've seen is more people using tanks by camping in the middle of nowhere, shelling objectives, just going for the kills. The artillery truck should be the only one doing that. Maybe by doing this may force people to actually go into the flags or the objective with the tank to help their team, but that's just my opinion. I could be completely wrong. I hope you guys enjoyed. Do you think there are a lot of unbalancing issues on this game, or do you feel it's in a pretty good spot right now? Comment down below your thoughts, leave a like down below, and subscribe for more game footage. As always guys, until next time, have a great day, and I'll see you on the battlefield.